Hello, Everything Medicare Podcast Nation. This is Christian Brindle here. Today is March 4th on a Monday, whereas every Monday, I, Christian Brindle, your host, bring you a podcast where I talk about everything that has to do with your Medicare, your Medicaid, your Social Security, and everything that has to do with your retirement. Folks, today I wanted to talk about billing issues and billing errors, something that I get calls about non-stop. They don't ever end. And I thought it would be a good topic since it's probably the biggest thing that my office gets calls about as far as customer service goes. Now, one thing I can tell you is, let me put something into perspective here, first and foremost. In today's world, we are looking at something type of way that things are done in the healthcare industry where everything has become so complicated, everything has become so convoluted for not just you as the consumer, the customer, but for the providers, the doctor's offices, the hospitals. These people are overwhelmed, in my opinion. Let me tell you what I mean. People that are healthcare providers, meaning doctor's offices, hospitals, anything of the sort, durable medical equipment providers, anything like that, they are in a situation, folks, where they are dealing with, in some situations, thousands of different types of insurances. Literally, thousands. So what does that mean for you? Well, think about you. These people's jobs, for the most part, is not to deal with insurance companies and different kinds of insurances. Their job is to provide you health care. Now, they might have a billing person, or they might have a billing department. One thing you got to realize about billing people and billing departments is there are some of them out there that are extremely good. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're talking about. But for the most part, a lot of them are underqualified to do the billing for your insurance. Fact. Now, if you're listening to this and you might be a billing person for a healthcare provider and you are in the minority of people that actually know what they're doing and I don't mean to criticize them. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But if you're one of those people that you're listening or you know somebody that's a billing person that they really know what they're doing, then great. But the fact of the matter is most of them don't know what they're doing, and the reason for that is because they're underqualified to do it because the turnover rate is so high. And that's just a fact of life nowadays. In a lot of instances, the turnover rate for a lot of careers, folks, is incredibly high. And it's no different for billing people. A lot of offices, doctor's offices, dentist offices, their billing person changes every couple of years, so they're getting a brand new billing person, learning everything over again. These people, some providers, deal with thousands of different types of insurances, from Medicare plans to group plans to marketplace plans to cost-sharing plans, you name it. There are providers out there that deal with an absurd amount of them. So this is what we have to put this into perspective here. If you have so much trouble keeping your benefits clear on your own plan, what makes you think you're going to be able to keep the benefits clear on thousands of plans? Just put it into perspective for yourself. It's not exactly easy for the average bear, and a lot of these billing people are average bears. They might know slightly more about the insurance than you do, but that's really all it is, slightly more. Point blank. So let's put this into perspective here. The reason why I'm telling you all this isn't to shame or slander billing people. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I want to put it into perspective so you understand the type of people that you're dealing with. Overwhelmed people, underqualified people that try their best, but at the end of the day, more often than not, it's usually just not enough to get it right. Now, a billing mistake can result in a tremendous amount of money for you, more than you're supposed to pay. Hundreds of dollars difference on what you're supposed to pay, thousands of dollars difference, tens of thousands of dollars difference, maybe even more in a dramatic enough situation. So this is something that's incredibly important. It's humongous. It's monumental that these things get handled correctly for you. Let me put this into perspective here. Let's say you have a Medicare Advantage plan, because we're mainly going to be talking about Medicare billing today. That's what I wanted to discuss more than anything else, because that's what this podcast is about. But let's say you have a Medicare Advantage plan. Let's say you have a copay of $300 for surgery at an outpatient facility. Now, a lot of Medicare Advantage plans in 2019 will have a higher copay if you have this done in the hospital opposed to in a surgical center. So let's say it's $500 in a hospital, but $300 in a surgical center. It could be as simple as the billing person billing it up as an outpatient hospital surgery, even if you're in a surgical center, and you end up paying $500 instead of $300. You might not know that about your coverage, and you might have been paying all that money that you don't need to. It's just an example. So keep this in mind, folks. Keep in mind, I wanted to point it in perspective, the type of people we're dealing with here. They don't probably know the plan better than you do. You might know more about your specific plan than they do. That's what you need to understand here. The other thing is, when I say things are overcomplicated, I don't just say that because that's the trendy thing to say. I say that because it's a fact. With all of the coding and computer systems that are used to bill insurance companies nowadays, it's overwhelming for all these people, and every single insurance company have their own system. They have their own method of billing. They have this and that and this and that. And if you're having a new person handle this for your office, if you're a doctor, let's say, and a new person handles this every couple of 2 or 3 years, you can imagine there's going to be a lot of learning curve for the new person, and it could take a couple of years for her to finally get it right. But by the time she's at the point where she's going to get it right, boom, she's gone, she's found a new job. You have to bring in someone else and start all over again. Keep this in mind. I get calls all the time where providers tell a client of mine something that is completely ridiculous about their plan that's completely not true. Completely not true most of the time. But the people don't know any better. It's just a fact of life. The person, the customer, you don't know any better. You think that anything they tell you is gold. And when it comes to your health, I would look at it like that. When it comes to the insurance, I would question everything. Now, if there's something that's a common thing, like you have a doctor copay and it's on your card, it's clear as day, and they tell you that's what it's going to be, that's easy. They probably got that right. Or if it's something that you know for a fact to be true in your coverage and they tell you that it is, that's probably right. But if something seems fishy, it probably is. And it probably seems that way for a reason. Stay with me into segment 2, and we will talk about what you can do to avoid these mistakes. Stay tuned. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to segment 2 of the Everything Medicare Podcast. Okay, so segment 1, we talked about basically why you need to be on guard for these billing issues. Another thing I forgot to mention in segment 1 is this is something that happened to me personally. It even got me, and I should have known better. It's something that I did know, but I didn't think too much about it. My wife needed a test done recently, actually. And it was an in-home kind of study. And our health insurance, is a pretty good health insurance at this point. And basically, we contacted the provider, asked them if they took our plan. They said they did. So, normally that'd be the end of the story, right? They said they took our plan. They even contacted our insurance company, and figured out a quote for us, an estimated out-of-pocket, called and gave it to us a couple days before we had the procedure done. And the event, the study. And so, they gave us a reference number for it and everything. Turns out, we find out after the study's done that they aren't in network. Our plan gives us very poor out-of-network coverage. They're not in network. That phone call that they said happened never happened. Now, me doing what I do, I should have known better. Now let me talk about this. Networks. The first thing you always want to find out is if the provider is in network. And let me break some news to you. The provider does not know who they take and who they don't take. Ridiculous, I know. But the providers don't know what insurance they take. In our situation, the provider did take various number of plans from our insurance company. They just didn't take our particular plan. We gave them the name of our plan, everything. They said they took it. They don't take it. So we ended up having to fight that. Now, we got it resolved and everything, but it was a big headache that was unnecessary. And I see this happen to people all the time. So before you go to a doctor, before you go to a hospital, before you have anything done, my advice is check with your broker, your insurance agent, or just call the insurance company directly. Find out if that person is in the network, because that's the only way to know for sure. If an insurance company made a mistake, let's say, and they told you a provider was in the network when they weren't, they record all those phone calls for quality and insurance purposes, as you may know. And typically, if they give you wrong information, they will make it right. But 99.9% of the time, an insurance company is not going to tell you a provider's in network when they're not. Or vice versa. So step one, call the insurance company and verify. Make sure the provider's in network. That is more often than not over half of the problems that I deal with. People going out of network because the provider told them they took the plan when they didn't. Don't trust the provider. The provider is clueless. The provider has no idea. The provider might take, let's say you have a plan with XYZ insurance company, and there's a gold plan and a silver plan. The provider takes the gold plan, you have the silver plan. The provider doesn't know the difference between the two. So they say they take that insurance company. They don't take every single plan that insurance company has to offer. See where I'm going with this? Make sure the provider is in your network. And the only way to find out for sure, talk to your broker, talk to your insurance company. My clients call me, and that's what we prefer. That's the only way to know for sure. So that's how you avoid that little problem. Don't trust them. If they say they take your insurance, they might take it. They might be right, but make sure, because you wouldn't believe how many providers' offices don't know what they take. They have no clue whatsoever in a lot of cases. Now, like I said in segment 1, there's exceptions to this. Some providers do know what they take and what they don't take. But most, if not a majority, do not. So step 1, check with the insurance company, make sure the provider's in the network. Check with the insurance company or insurance company representative, which would be your agent. What's the next thing you can do? Well, the next thing you can do is verify what your out-of-pocket will be for any given procedure. A lot of hospitals nowadays are doing estimated out-of-pockets. Their estimated out-of-pocket normally is something along the lines of the average of every single person that comes in, what they end up paying for it. You might have great coverage. So they're comparing your coverage with someone that has $10,000 deductible or higher. Check with the insurance company. Again, find out what your out-of-pocket will be for a certain service. The other thing you can do is check with the insurance company and see if they need a prior authorization for any procedure, see if they need a prior approval, any type of pre-auth for any type of procedure, unless it's something silly, like going to a specialist. Now, some Advantage plans make you get referrals to see a specialist, so it might not be such a bad idea. If you know for a fact your plan doesn't need a referral, you're probably okay. But if you need a procedure done, anything like that, find out if it's covered, find out if it needs a pre-authorization, find out what your estimated out-of-pocket would be. Your information and your ammunition when you go into the provider's office is to know all the information you possibly can. And that way you'll know if they tell you something, it's going to seem off. It's going to sound off. It's not going to match what the insurance company told you. Believe the insurance company 100 times out of 100. So you want to choose. So what have we gone over so far? Make sure they're in network. 1, make sure that they're the specific thing they want to do is covered. 2, find out what your out-of-pocket will be with your specific plan. 3, and find out if you need a pre-authorization or anything like that. Because if you get a service done that needs a pre-authorization without the pre-authorization being done, guess what? You're going to be paying for it out of your pocket. Most of the time, now the provider might write it off, but why take that chance? Why take the chance of them being able to say no? Why give them that power over you? Make sure, do your homework ahead of time. You're going to be better off for it. It's going to save you a lot of headaches. Now, what are some other things that you need to be on the lookout for? It's very, very simple. If you go to a doctor's office, let's say you can't see that specific doctor, and they send you to another doctor, make sure both doctors are in the network. Now, 9 times out of 10, if one doctor in an office is in the network, they all are going to be, but you don't want to be that 1 out of every 10 chance. Make sure that the providers are in the network, even if it's a different doctor. With Medicare Advantage plans, if you spend the night in the hospital, as long as the hospital's in the network, everything's going to be covered. You're going to be all right. But not with every type of insurance. Different types of insurances will bill you for every little thing that happens to you in the hospital. Medicare Advantage plans don't typically work that way. Now, depends on what type of insurance you're talking about. Let's say your plan has a waiting period, like a dental plan or something like that. Make sure you're within the waiting period. I've had this happen to myself with dental insurance plans where I had a waiting period on plan, but not for every type of service. Only for certain services. I went to go get a filling done for my wife, not for myself. It makes it seem like my wife has all these problems, but she doesn't. But these are over the course of many years. My wife went to go get a filling done. The provider billing person told us that we had a year waiting period on this filling. Well, we had a 3-month waiting period when we were in month 5. I picked up the phone, called the insurance company, had the insurance company tell her that's not the case. Turns out she didn't even try to bill it. She was just guessing. These types of things can happen to anybody, and you don't have to be an insurance expert like me to see right through them. Stay with me, folks. Into segment 3, we'll wrap this up about how to avoid billing mistakes. Thank you for listening up to this point, and stay put. Welcome back, everybody, to segment 3 of the Everything Medicare Podcast. Folks, I just wanted to wrap this up with my final thought on billing errors. I think 90% of them can be avoided by you doing your homework beforehand. And maybe not even you doing your homework, letting your agent do the homework for you. Check with your agent on a new provider. Networks are a big, big thing. Things being approved are a big, big thing. And the providers just can't be trusted to provide you accurate information. Now, you might go to a place, a doctor office or anything like that, that really knows their stuff. They really got their stuff together. They really know what they're doing. They're on top of it. And that's great. If you have a person like that and you want to trust them, I understand. But for most people, they don't. It's important to check on these things. It's important to do your homework ahead of time, and it doesn't usually take that much time. It usually can be done in a phone call. Trust the insurance company's word. Check with the insurance company. Make sure what you're being told lines up. That's important because it can be something not being covered, not a covered benefit, a price misquote, an out-of-network cost could be multiple thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars, maybe even more than that, out of your own pocket difference because of mistake. And sometimes they might write it off, but a lot of times they won't. You don't want to count on that. Make sure you're protecting yourself. I really appreciate you folks listening week after week to what we're trying to do here. And if you know anybody that could benefit from this podcast, turn them on to it. Share it on your favorite social media. If you are on Medicare and you happen to live in Utah, Idaho, or Florida, or you're getting onto Medicare, you're getting close to getting Medicare, and you'd like to work with me, you're more than welcome to shoot me an email. Christian, Christian B as in boy, Christian B at xmission.com. XMISSION.com. Christian B at xmission.com, or give our office a call at 801-255-5340, 801-255-5340. Those are the 3 states that we are licensed right now to do business in, and we might be able to help you. If you're on Medicare and you're not satisfied with your plan, you want to see if you can do better, or if you're getting onto Medicare or getting close to getting to Medicare and you want to know what your options are, we're an independent Medicare brokerage where we carry every single insurance company. We're able to help you. And I've been doing this for a number of years now. I grew up around Medicare. We are in this to help you make your life easier. If you don't live in one of those 3 states, if you live in one of the other 47 states and you'd like to be more educated on Medicare to make sure that you're making the best decisions for you, I encourage you to head over to Amazon and pick up a copy of my book that I published, Medicare Guidance, Picking the Plan for You. It's a beautiful red book with a Medicare card in the front by me, Christian Brindle. It's $5.50 right now on Amazon. Basically, we're rounding up to $6. For $6, you could potentially save yourself thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars in not paying too much premiums, getting what you need covered, prescription costs, everything like that. It's a no-brainer when it comes down to it. The biggest insurance is an investment, an investment in protection, a protection of an asset. The asset is you. You are the greatest asset you will ever be given in this lifetime. And you want to make sure that you protect it. Insurance is an investment in protecting that asset. And the only way to do that is to know what you're doing. I encourage you to pick up a copy of Medicare Guidance. For the price we're charging, we're practically giving it away, but that's the lowest price Amazon will let us charge it for. Head over to Amazon, Medicare Guidance, Picking the Plan for You by me, Christian Brindle, Brindle. I guarantee you won't be disappointed. Folks, I really appreciate you listening. If you enjoy the content here today, like I said, share it on your favorite social media, share it with a friend, give us a good review. We really appreciate it. And I can't wait to see you next week for another episode of the Everything Medicare Podcast. And I hope you have a fantastic week. And I hope March treats you well. Talk to you soon.